Chapter 5 Number 001 Undead. The two were able to meet in advance. Okay, let's start the dissection. Yang Mo came back from the memories and took a deep breath, being the first to step onto the dissecting table. Roar, when the monster with a goat's head and a human face saw this, he immediately bared his teeth and tried to attack. Zhao Ziyan and others were so frightened that their expressions changed slightly. I took a few steps back unconsciously facing this unknown monster. They were filled with anxiety and fear, but Yang Mo looked as usual, unhurried, and walked 1 meter away from the monster, pick up the scalpel skillfully. Crack the scales on the monster's chest hard. It's stinging. A faint scratch appeared on the scales, the extremely sharp scalpel. It can't even break the monster's defense. Record the data. While everyone was stunned, Yang Mo's voice came out quietly. Monster number 001, codenamed Undead. Goat-headed human face. The body is covered with scales. Ordinary knives and conventional thermal weapons cannot cause effective damage to it. Zhao Ziyan reacted and quickly picked up the notebook. Swish, 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 he recorded what Yang Mo said to Ian, the eyes flickering with some surprising colors. Not everyone has the mental endurance to be able to dissect such a ferocious monster so calmly. Bring the pliers. Immediately afterwards, Yang Mo suddenly spoke, and Yang Ziyan quickly stepped forward and handed over a pair of pliers to I Saw. He took the pliers and clamped a scale of the goat-headed and human-faced monster. Then, with the help of the auxiliary equipment next to it, the scales were pulled hard and locked. Drawed with great force, the scales fell off in response. The pained monster let out a sharp roar. The body twitched and trembled crazily. His hateful eyes were locked on Yang Mo, but Yang Mo turned a deaf ear. Don't care at all. He said to himself. The defense of the undead is extremely strong, mostly relying on these scales. Even ordinary undead, only large-caliber bullets can pose a threat to them. BR Team 1, the task of analyzing the scales will be left to you, said. He threw the scales to the scientific research team behind him responsible for materials research. Go on. He picked up another wrench and aimed at the horns on the head of the goat-headed and human-faced monster. Its horns are also unusual and seem to be the source of its power. No matter how injured it is, as long as it doesn't kill you on the spot, he will be able to recover quickly. There was only a click sound. Under the huge pull of the instrument, the horn on the monster's forehead broke and was pulled out from the scalp. Bloody blood, blurred flesh and blood. The screams and wailing sounds are endless. Everyone who saw it was frightened. Don't pity monsters. Yang Mo's voice sounded faintly, echoing in everyone's ears. Being kind to them is cruelty to our compatriots. BR Team Number 2, the task of analyzing the horns will be left to you. After the explanation, Yang Mo turned around and ordered in a deep voice. Each team comes forward and seizes the time to conduct a comprehensive anatomical study on it. Within 3 days, I want all the data on it. Behind, the researchers looked at each other. Although I was apprehensive, I still stepped onto the dissecting table. Under the roars and screams of the monsters, they started their own research work before reporting to the institute. Their original leaders have all talked to them, and they know the importance of monster research. Plus, as the dean, Yang Mo took the lead and personally demonstrated to them how to dissect the monster. They have no reason to back down. 7 days later, Monster Research Institute. Dean, that monster with a goat's horn and a human face, was studied to death. Zhao Ziyan hurriedly broke into Yang Mo's office with a pile of information in her arms. The latest research progress is reported. In these 7 days, the research team conducted an all-round, multi-angle, inside-out anatomy of the ram-horned human-faced monster, put various parts of its body, all stripped out, used the most advanced scientific instruments to analyze and test its ingredients. Get a lot of monster data and information, but the monster is too brittle. It only lasted 7 days. He lost all signs of life activities and died completely in the anatomy laboratory. If you die, just die. Yang Mo waved his hand and said lightly, we have already obtained the first-hand information about the monster, and it has no other research value. Then its body. Zhao Ziyan swallowed her saliva and asked in a low voice. Use it to its best advantage, make it into a specimen, hang it in my office as a souvenir. Zhao Ziyan, her face was filled with emotion of shock, looking at Yang Mo secretly. This leader of my family is about the same age as me, but the hobby is too perverted that he even made the monster's corpse into a specimen and hung it in the office. Give me the information. Yang Mo suddenly stretched out his hand. Zhao Ziyan was stunned for a moment, then he handed over the stack of information in his arms. The above, it is all the research results on monsters in these 7 days. Dean, there is something I don't understand. You named the monster number 001 Undead. Will there be other monsters coming in the future? Zhao Ziyan looked at the stack of information and asked. The question I have always wanted to ask. The Earth now, every country is calm. Many people have forgotten about the civilization trial 7 days ago. Only occasionally when I raise my head, you can see the gray curtain in the sky, blocking the starlight and covering the sky. Of course. Yang Mo nodded and said solemnly, this monster is just the beginning. Actually, nowadays, various departments in China are somewhat dissatisfied with the Monster Research Institute he established. I think he is making a fuss out of a molehill. Even, some experts believe that the monster incarnated by Director Zhou is just some undiscovered mutant species on the Earth. There is no need for such a high-profile study. By the way, has the approval from the military regarding the establishment of a demon hunting team been released? Yang Mo paused. Not yet. Zhao Ziyan smiled bitterly, shook her head and said, the military thinks they are enough to deal with monsters, so let us concentrate on research and leave the rest to them. Yang Mo frowned. Really, it was pretty much what he expected. The newly established research institute only gained Wang Yu's personal trust. Other departments, they don't attach much importance to this small research institute. Ziyan, please send this information I compiled to the cabinet. He took a deep breath, took out a piece of SSS-level encrypted information, handed it to Zhao Ziyan. Chapter 6 Demon Hunting Team, Yanjing, Cabinet. Several old men are handling government affairs. Several people suddenly looked at the youngest Wang Yu. Xin Sheng asked, 7 days have passed, and neither we in China nor any other country have found any abnormalities. Recently, the Monster Research Institute has been frantically deploying personnel, instruments, and equipment. Prioritize the allocation of resources and manpower. Other departments have already expressed their opinions. Your movement is a bit big. Wang Yu was watched by the big bosses one after another, and he suddenly felt a lot of pressure. Brows furrowed. It was he who single-handedly vouched for the establishment of the Monster Research Institute. Given the highest priority in an unusual move, Yang Mo was promoted to be the first dean of the institute, but 7 days have passed, the world is calm. The thing about monsters is like catching up with the wind and shadow. The United States and other countries did not take any countermeasures. Only China, in vain, created a Monster Research Institute. This, Wang Yu was quite embarrassed. Previously, he promised Yang Mo to keep it as confidential as possible, to conceal the identity of the reborn person for him, and to determine the time before telling the other senior officials of China. Now it seems, report to the head. The Monster Research Institute has sent SSS-level top-secret documents. At this time, a guard hurried in. Hear the words, everyone couldn't help but be stunned. Top-secret documents. An old man from the military shook his head and said casually, they came to me not long ago and said they wanted to form a demon hunting team, probably for this reason. He took the report casually, tear off the seal. He casually took out the documents inside. A quick glance, but the casual expression on his face was instantly wiped away. In the eyes, there was a look of shock. What? How is this possible? The other old men looked at each other. Everyone had a premonition of something. He took the initiative to walk up to the old military man. After seeing clearly the contents of the report on the document, everyone's expressions changed suddenly: shocked, panic, fear. The institute made a breakthrough so quickly and acquired all the monster's habits. It has strong defense, fast recovery, and extremely tenacious vitality, so it was named 001 Immortal? It has super strong defense and feeds on flesh and blood. The more human flesh it swallows, the faster it upgrades? The higher the level, the stronger the defense and the greater the destructiveness. Devouring 10 people at the first level can be upgraded to the second level. Devouring 100 people at the second level can be upgraded to the third level. The third level swallows 1,000 people, and can be upgraded to the fourth level. The fourth level monster, it cannot be hurt except by nuclear bombs. Several people are facing each other. See, keeping swallowing, there was a look of shock that could not be concealed in his eyes. The efficiency of the institute is too high, just 7 days. That's why he analyzed the monster's statistics, habits, advancement, etc. so thoroughly. This data, are you sure it's true? The old man in the military clutched the report tightly and stared at the guard and asked, if true, so the military must re-estimate the destructive power of this monster. I'm not sure about this, but Zhao Ziyan from the institute is waiting outside the conference room. The guard scratched his head. Let her in. Quickly, Zhao Ziyan walked into the conference room cautiously. I saw one big boss after another. These people are all big shots who can turn China upside down with just a tap of their feet. At this moment, everyone is like a primary school student, staring at her curiously. Are you sure the top secret information you sent is true? The old military man spoke first and asked in a deep voice. A pair of deep eyes, standing on Zhao Ziyan, is full of scrutiny and questioning. These information are compiled by the Dean NS after 7 days of painstaking research. Zhao Ziyan did not dare to hide it, and quickly and respectfully replied, the monsters recorded above the information and data have gone through a large number of repeated tests and can ensure more than 99.6% authenticity. The 001 immortals have all been studied to death. Everyone heard this. They all looked weird. Monster, studied to death. This shows how crazy the research institute led by Yang Emo is. It can also be proved sideways, the reliability and authenticity of this report. Everyone, the situation is not optimistic. One you put down the information and said solemnly, Yang Mo said that according to model predictions, there are at least 50 001s in China. The undead lurk, he had just flipped through the entire report, noted the above conclusion. He knows Yang Mo very well, there is no necessary certainty. I would never make such a conclusion. Several old men looked at each other, their eyes twinkling, brows between the eyebrows, they are all full of worry. Yang Mo. Too fierce. The research institute has only been established for 7 days, but it has already obtained such detailed parameters on all aspects of the monster. The high efficiency and great results completely exceeded their imagination, but the same thing, it also made them a little restless and worried. The 50,001 undead are mostly hidden among the 1.4 billion people in China. It will inevitably devour flesh and blood. Strengthen yourself, although the report says that it takes a certain amount of time to digest each person the monster devours, but once the monsters reach the 3rd or 4th level, their defense will be greatly improved and they will not be damaged except by nuclear bombs. Leaders, don't worry. At this moment, Zhao Yanran, who came to report, bravely said, before coming, the dean said that we discovered the monster early, step by step, come on, for now, I have the advantage. The 001 undead are still very weak and are trying to hide their identities. They don't dare to eat people openly. We only need to hold a press conference to educate the public about the habits of monsters, announce precautions, and be wary of monster attacks. If we find anomalies and report them immediately, we will surely be able to uncover most of the disguised monsters. Everyone heard this. My eyes lit up. He suddenly looked happy. Indeed, Yang Mo is right. The monsters that have descended on China are still only at the 1st level. The strength is still very weak. As long as the common people are alert to observe and report abnormalities immediately, they can be discovered, unless they don't eat humans. But without eating people, they cannot grow and advance, which is almost impossible. So, the advantage is indeed mine. Old Wang, you didn't make a mistake this time. Yang Mo can afford to be the head of a hospital. An old man looked at Wang Yu and was filled with emotion. And the look of full of appreciation and affirmation for Yang Mo. Several other old men. He nodded again and again. If it weren't for this report researched by Yang Mo, they still know nothing about monsters. They are in the dark and know nothing, not to mention making accurate judgments and responses. I propose that the priority and treatment of the institute can be mentioned higher up. Agree. I also agree. BR, leave the press conference to the Monster Research Institute. Let professional people handle professional things. In addition, the protection measures for Dean Yang Mo must be upgraded. If the 001 immortals know this, they may launch a hunting operation against Dean Yang Mo. Now the institute and Dean Yang Mo are targeting China. Crucial. I second the proposal. Second the proposal. The elders quickly reached a consensus. The serious decision was made. The old man from the military waved his hand and signed his name on the document that had not been approved, and write down the instructions. Deploy the most elite personnel from each military region to report to the Monster Research Institute, form a demon hunting team, and obey the orders of Dean Yang Mo unconditionally. Chapter 7 starts the live broadcast to inform all compatriots. Institute, office, what? Let me be the anchor? Zhao Ziyan's eyes widened and she pointed at her nose in disbelief. She just came back from the cabinet run to Yang Mo to return her life, but Yang Mo arranged a new job for her. I plan to open a live broadcast room on the official website of the Monster Research Institute to educate the 1.4 billion people across the country about the characteristics and methods of dealing with the undead number 001. Yang Yemo clicked. He nodded and said with a smile, "You are good looking and have a good external image. It would be a waste not to be an anchor." Zhao Ziyan pouted. "You said resentfully, you are also very handsome, why don't you live broadcast? Have you ever seen the leader live broadcast?" Yang Yemo stared. She took one look and made a unilateral decision. "The live broadcast starts in the afternoon. You should quickly change your clothes and be more formal. This live broadcast in the afternoon is very important." "Okay." Zhao Ziyan lowered her head and glanced at her casual attire. Afternoon. Zhao Ziyan walked into the live broadcast recording room wearing her usual casual clothes and formally dressed. Looking at the live broadcast equipment that had been adjusted, she sat in front of the camera carefully and nervously. When she became an anchor for the first time, she had no confidence in her heart. "Start." Until I heard Yang Mo's voice, she gathered her thoughts and got into working mode. Look into the camera, showing a sweet smile. "Friends from the audience. I am Zhao Ziyan from the Monster Research Institute. From now on, our institute will answer your questions in this live broadcast room, answer questions about monsters." After a simple opening remarks, she found out the live broadcast room was unusually deserted. The number of online viewers is very few, not even a barrage. Dean, with a sad face, she looked at Yang Mo, who was sitting opposite and playing with his mobile phone. "No rush." Yang Mo put down his phone and smiled slightly. "I have already said hello to other departments. This afternoon, there will be traffic in the live broadcast room, and at the same time, there will be traffic in the live broadcast room. Loop broadcast." Before this live broadcast, he specially greeted the cabinet and obtained super privileges, number of people and so on. Not a problem at all. At the same time, a certain blog, the largest blogging platform in the country, a pinned announcement directly replaced the #1 popular search for an actor, hung in the most conspicuous position. The announcement is called, "Every man is responsible for the rise and fall of a country." Buzzing title. It instantly attracted the curiosity of many netizens. A large number of netizens clicked on the announcement and found that they jumped directly to the live broadcast room of an external webpage. What catches the eye? She is a pure and sweet live broadcaster, claiming to be a staff member of the Monster Research Institute. Hacker intrusion? What happened? A certain blog has been penetrated. Where are the technicians? Monster Research Institute, what kind of organization is this? I have never heard of it before. Come on. Let me tell you, this beauty is so beautiful. If she were to be my wife, I would live in a villa every day. Brother, you don't want to suffer at all. In the live broadcast room, the originally deserted and lonely screen was flooded with barrages, overwhelming, densely packed. The number of people online in the live broadcast room instantly exceeded tens of thousands. At the same time, a certain sound, the largest short video platform in China, after every netizen clicked on the app, they all saw the same video. In the video, I saw a monster with a goat-headed face and a body covered with scales, staring at them ferociously. Those who saw it trembled inwardly, creepy, and next, before they could react, they jumped to the live broadcast room of an external webpage. Damn! Was that monster just a prank by a certain voice? I was shocked. Monster Research Institute? What kind of institution is this? Hello, can the beauty show off her talents? Can you tell me how to do it? I'll give you a yacht ride. This anchor is so beautiful, even more beautiful than a celebrity. Although I was startled by the image of the monster, but attracted by good looks, netizens all stayed in the live broadcast room and joined the Barrage Interaction Army. Almost at the same time, all domestic internet platforms have received instructions from relevant departments. Pin the link to the live broadcast room of Monster Research Institute's official website to the top. As long as you are a user of this platform and use this app, you will jump to the live broadcast room of Monster Research Institute. At the same time. On TV, all local satellite TV stations are broadcasting live simultaneously, even the elderly who cannot use smartphones. Everyone can see this live broadcast on TV. It can be said, this live broadcast covers all regions and people in China who have access to the internet and signals. It is unprecedented. Dean, the number of people in the live broadcast room has reached 80 million. Zhao Ziyan looked at the soaring number of people online in the live broadcast room and couldn't help but swallow her saliva. She thought it was just a small live broadcast. I didn't expect. The Dean actually made the battle so big. Her pressure to IT suddenly grew bigger. There must be no mistakes in this live broadcast. Let's start popularizing science. Yang Mo looked normal and nodded towards her. Civilization trial each month around will be launched. People will continue to come into contact with various monsters in the future, and they must be fully mentally prepared. Friends from the audience. Zhao Ziyan raised her head and showed a gentle and sweet smile. I am Zhao Ziyan from the Monster Research Institute. The Monster Research Institute, as the name suggests, is specially built for monsters. I believe everyone still has an impression. 8 days ago, a gray fog suddenly appeared over the earth, and it has not dissipated yet. I can tell you responsibly that all civilizations on Earth are going through a cruel test called the civilization trial. Failed civilizations will have their traces of existence erased and buried forever in history. In the Long River. In front of 80 million netizens, Zhao Ziyan made a shocking statement and dropped a bombshell, the truth that will put civilization to the test. Tell everything. A moment, the live broadcast room was filled with excitement, barrages poured out overwhelmingly, the screen was so dense that it was impossible to see clearly what the netizens were saying, and now. Zhao Ziyan pursed her lips and continued, the world is going through the first round of civilization trials, and an unknown number of unknown monsters have descended on our country. They disguise themselves as ordinary people and lurk around us. They may be your father, your son, your wife, or your daughter. It feeds on humans and is full of bloodthirsty and violent factors. Once you find something abnormal about the people around you, please call the 12111 hotline as soon as possible and contact the Monster Research Institute. The words just finished, netizens from all over China were completely shocked. Chapter 8, the whole world is watching. Is China crazy? What does it mean? The relatives, friends and colleagues around them are most likely to be monsters in disguise. The truth, many people cannot accept it for a while. That's outrageous. They were watching the live broadcast and subconsciously looked to their side. The corners of his mouth twitched a few times. I don't quite believe what Zhao Ziyan said. If the Monster Research Institute had not been endorsed by the country, they would definitely regard this live broadcast as a farce. Don't rush to judge. Zhao Ziyan seemed to have expected this situation, and said calmly, this is the monster response code issued by our hospital, which can help everyone in life and work. In addition, protect your own safety and identify disguised monsters. The report will be broadcast in a loop in the live broadcast room, please remember it. The first article of the Monster Code. Monsters do not dare to be exposed in public, and do not stay away from people at any time. Article 2 of the Monster Code, if you find someone behaving abnormally, don't make a fuss, please call the police immediately and seek help from the police. Article 3 of the Monster Code, never trust anyone easily, even if she is your parents. Article 4 of the Monster Code, if someone around you loses contact, don't please call the police secretly, she may have encountered something unexpected. Article 5 of the Monster Code, after 10 o'clock in the evening, the monster's desire for food is strongest, so do not go out alone. Article 6 of Monster Code, if you find that the corners of your colleague's mouth are red, it may not be ketchup, but your other colleagues. With the announcement of the rules one by one, netizens in the live broadcast room gradually realized that this was not a joke. Every code sounds creepy. Have anyone around them really been replaced by a monster? Monsters disguised as ordinary people of food, housing, and living with them just to secretly eat them? Anchor, what you said is too scary. Is it true? Are monsters really disguised around us? It's over, I won't be able to sleep tonight. Sleep? I'm living in the employee dormitory of my company now, and I just want to move out quickly. After listening to Monster Code, I think everyone feels like a monster. Didn't the Monster Code say? Don't stay away from the crowd, monsters will not be easily exposed. In the live broadcast room, the number of people online unknowingly exceeded 100 million. This is the real number of people online, not the kind of data that the platform falsifies. It covers almost all netizens currently surfing the internet. It has had a huge psychological impact on these people. Monster, it really appeared, just lurking next to them, a little carelessness. You may be targeted by monsters and become their food. Monster Code said it, when ordinary people face monsters, the difference in combat power between the two is equivalent to an ordinary boxer facing Taylor. Resistance will only make the monster more excited. Panic, afraid, worry, fear, despair, various emotions are filling the hearts of everyone. Don't be too pessimistic. Zhao Ziyan glanced at the barrage and struck while the iron was hot to promote. Once you find traces of monsters, call the 12111 hotline to report it in time. Please believe in China. Believe in the Monster Research Institute. We will do our best to protect the safety of everyone's life and property. These words won out. The netizens in the live broadcast room were stunned for a moment. Immediately afterwards, it was a massive number of phone calls that flooded the Institute's hotline. Dean, no, the hotline is out of service. A staff member hurried into the recording room and reported next to Yang Mo expand threads and divert access. Yang Mo frowned and made a decisive decision. Hurry up and send more operators to ensure that the hotline is open 24 hours a day. The effect of this live broadcast finally reached. People already have a certain understanding of monsters. He believed it. Under the joint report of 1.4 billion people, the 50 monsters in the country will be exposed. In less 8 days since their arrival, no one has eaten, and not a single murder has been committed, but that is almost impossible. Across the ocean, the United States Department of Defense. China's nationwide live broadcast quickly shocked this place. All the traffic in China has gathered in this live broadcast room. James stared at Zhao Ziyan on the screen. The corners of his mouth twitched a few times. I couldn't help but sneer. China is really out of its mind. It actually thinks that monsters are disguised among ordinary people, and actively spreads panic to the people. He even made up a so-called monster code for fear that the people will not be afraid. They deliberately spread panic. He is simply afraid that the world will not be in chaos. No, China has a population of 1.4 billion people. This continues. I'm afraid that China itself will be in chaos even without the monsters taking action. Sir, we in the United States have been investigating for a week, and we only took a blurry picture of the monster, and nothing else was found. An assistant next to James suddenly spoke and said worriedly, China's speculation, is it possible that it's true? Hearing this, James frowned slightly. After a moment of silence, shook his head, certainly said, impossible. How can a monster disguise itself as a human and still live normally in human society? Although they have never found a monster, but I never thought about the monster disguised as a human being. This is incredible. Monsters that can disguise themselves as ordinary people are obviously highly intelligent, and the Earth has evolved for so many years. The intelligent species human beings were born. Let the Ministry of National Defense continue to investigate. The monster must be hiding in a corner. James' eyes flashed and he denied the assistant's speculation. Abroad Tubing, the world's largest video platform, the live broadcast of the Chinese Monster Research Institute was also reposted and synchronized here by someone who was interested. Suddenly, it aroused heated discussions among netizens from all over the country. The number of onlookers was unprecedented. Ha ha ha, are you kidding me? Are my relatives and friends monsters? I'm very curious. She can actually read the monster code seriously. How can she hold back her laughter? I remember China has 9 years of compulsory education. How come there are so many people slipping through the net? Monster Research Institute, it's just a joke. Most netizens, they all scorned the monster code announced by Zhao Ziyan. No1 believed it. The monster has hidden in human society and integrated into their side. As for the Monster Research Institute, it was because of this live broadcast that it was pushed to the forefront, became the laughingstock of netizens around the world. Many people are complaining that Huaxia has lost its head and actually created such an organization.